I want to point out in this lesson that I'm using a desktop computer instead of the iPad, but I'm running it on the Xcode simulator, which kind of makes the text and everything a little bit fuzzy, so the quality is not as good. Let's go ahead and talk about what this application overview is for. We're going to give you an overview that there are clients that you're utilizing in your business. They can either be a individual or personal type of a person that's calling you for help, or they can be a business, or they can be both. The way you can use this is, say for example, you had a business client and you wanted to use it and also show the information for that particular individual. You could do that over here on the client name. So it'd be client name and then the business name and then the information about the client for that business name. It's where you can put the address on both would be the same address if it were a business and a individual in that business that you were trying to track information for. In this case, this is a example record with some data in it. I didn't fill it out all the way. When you're using the application, if it comes to you with data in it, those are examples that you can use. And what I tend to do is to tell people to use the information to overwrite it. So you just click in the field and wait for the thing to come up just like you would normally on your iPad, and just go ahead and empty out the fields and put in there what you want for your clients. Note that up here in the screen there's a client ID. In this case it's number 1. Each time a client is added to the database, it's the individual client for that client and all the work for that client that's going to be done now and in the future. And I'll explain how that works. This is called a parent record. Any records like the schedule and inventory and other things that are in your application are subordinate screens that are used, but the client one stands on its own as a record for that client. So for example, if I went over to the navigation over here and I wanted to see the client list view, the client list view would show the clients that are in that list of group of people. Now there's only one full record in here and another one that's ready for me to add data to it. Now in a list view, you can use the find. If you're looking for a particular client, you can say start a find. What it does, it rotates the screen information on that screen and gives you the ability in the list view to go ahead and add information in there for that particular field. And then you can say perform the find, which is here. When you say perform the find, what it'll do is it'll find the record or records that match any of the data you put in one of those fields. And this is true throughout the application. So you're using start the find, then you're doing the perform the find. Now, I want you to be aware, if you do a find and you have only a set of records that are less than the total amount in the application, you have to go back when you get done and click on the show all. What show all does is it brings all the records back. So if you came to the screen and, for example, there was only one record and you thought all the rest of them were lost, just click the show all and then they'll show back up on the screen again. That's for all the records that you have in your application. Now, if you wanted to omit one record, or say there's 10 or 12 of them here and you want to omit 1, 2, 3, or 4, you click into anywhere in that field, then come over here and hit omit. Now, one of the nice things about omitting is that if you come back and you say, okay, I got 5 of them omitted, but those are the ones I want to show now, you would say, okay, show omitted records right here, and then it would show those records. If you wanted to walk up and down in different screens through the records, you go first, go next, go last, or go prior. And it would move up and down or go to the last or top record. And then you can export data from list views. You could get a selection of records that you want to use. Say, for example, in the client area, maybe I want to build a list of clients by their name, address, and whatever, or maybe even the company. And I want to put it into my email accounts and have a group of clients that I could send out literature to or special sales or whatever. Then I could go ahead and create that list and then add it to, say, for example, Gmail or Outlook, and then have those things available to them. When you export records from here, it gives you a couple options like a tab delimited or CSV file, and either one of those will work in most of the Gmail and other accounts. You can also print the screen. And then you can either get a hold of us in support, or of course you're watching the videos. By clicking on this, it watches the videos that you're watching right now. So let's go back into, you can click anywhere off of this, and what it'll do is it'll bring back up. Go back in here, and I'm going to go back to the client screen. Now it's pretty obvious what the information is. Name, address, email, cell phone, and so forth. Client notes, You can have notes in here, and you can put as many notes in here as you want to, and it'll carry them. And if you want to scroll through them or whatever, you can actually do a find on these large fields for a word or a phrase. You can click into there. For example, you had a word that was specific to a certain type of client and you wanted to find everybody that matched that. You can do it on either the business side or on the personal individual account. Now down here, in order to put an image in here, in this case I've got President Obama behind his desk on the White House, and you can see that's what I have up here. If you tap in here with your finger on the iPad, what it'll do is it'll bring up an add record button, and I've shown this before, and you can do a replace, and you can go ahead and pick the picture from the library and add it in there. And that's basically what I did in here, is I used the pictures in the library and I added them in. And if I want to see a larger view of it, I can pop it up so it's clear, and that goes for both sides. You can have now a big picture of the White House. Up here, this is kind of an interesting little thing I've added. In this database engine development, it doesn't allow you to put, say for example, this was a numeric field with currency in it, just for an example. If I wanted to have a $sign in it, I'd have to hardwire it in the application, and then it would put always like a $sign, like a US dollar. Well, what I've done to get around that limitation on the iPad is I've created a drop-down list, and it takes a second, and here it is. There are 53 countries, 53 countries money symbols in here, and all you have to do is scroll through them and pick the one you want, and watch this. When you change it, it changes it up here, yes, but it also changes it through the entire application. So if you had the header of a field here and it was saying payment, and then it'd have a symbol, the symbol could be the same throughout the application in one touch. So if I go up here and change it, and then change it back, and say for example I want to change it back to the US dollar, I just click in there, and now everything in the entire application is using the US dollar. So that's a nice little benefit that you have. Let's go through some of the things here. For example, there's a client map. The client map is for the map by the address that's entered here. So if you click on it, what it's going to do, it's going to bring up Google Maps. And if you're logged into Google Maps, like I'm not right now because this is a generic application, it would give you more options and you would be allowed to do more with the application than you do with just the general one with not being logged in. Now if you want to log in, you can always pull over here and then go ahead and sign in, and then go ahead and put in whatever you want, your settings, and save your own maps, or go out and say My Maps. You can go get your own maps and have them brought up on the screen if you want to. You could even click in here, for example, and go ahead and change to a different address or something else that you want to have in there. And of course, like always on the iPad, you can pick whatever words come up here if you want to paste something in or whatever. Like if you started to spell out Pennsylvania, you could just go ahead and click it when it comes up, and it would paste it in there for you. So it makes things a lot faster to use. So you can also do a search, which in this particular case, I would frown on that as far as doing it because you're going to get mixed results as far as doing that. The best thing to do is just go ahead and click back in and use the built-in find that is included in the Do Action menu. It's really wired to do it in the application and support the table information that is in this application. Now the other button is for the business address for the businesses, and it'll bring up the map. Now when I click over in the web support or website, it's going to take that off. Now where did I get the website from? In this particular case, if you add a website, and I'm going to show you the field, if you add a website here for a business, that website thing will bring up that business's website. Okay? Here's the next one, service schedule. If you are scheduling for this particular account, for this client, either business or personal client, you put in the information for each visit, and this is a running history of all the visits that you're doing for service or maintenance. And you have a place in here to put the service description, and the hours that you're at there will automatically be calculated by putting in the start time and the end time. It'll give you the actual time that you're actually there for that particular thing. Plus there's a drop down here that allows you to have a list of different kinds of things in here to go ahead and pick from, like need to call back, answer mail, new quote, and all these kinds of things, warranty coverage and barter. There's every kind of thing that you could think out for the service type status that you're actually using. So you can do a find on status to find certain records that have status. Now you cannot search in a portal, but that's why I'm getting to the next thing. There's a thing called a portal record for the individual record. If you click on that, it's going to take you into the portal record. And in the same way, if you had a portal record that was entered accidentally that was not what you wanted and you want to get rid of it, you can click on the delete and it'll delete that individual portal record for you. Now, another thing that you can do in here is you can do a find for any record that's in a portal. So this is where you would find all the records in the portal. I would suggest when you do something like that, since this is the service schedule, you can come back over here, look for the service schedule and see the list view. Click on the list view and you'll see the records that you collected when you did the find. If you wanted to see all the records, as we said before, you can go out to the list view. You can click on the Do Action button and say Show All Records. And then all the records in the database will be shown. And then you can do another find now for the scheduled records. Now to get back, click off, click over, click back on the screen, and now you're back in here. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is actually the service inventory. What is that? Service inventory is something that you're watching in here, but you're not editing. And this would be the inventory items that are in the inventory system. And it gives you an idea when you're talking to a client or whatever and you want to look over and say you want to see what is the price for a certain item. Well, you can go ahead and do that. Or you can jump right over to the portal and you can do a search on the portal by the word and then pop back into the Do Action and either do a Show All and then go in, or just go back in and pick the list here, and now you can go to the service inventory, click on the list view, and now you're looking at the list view for the service inventory items. Now I want to show you something that's very interesting. In this particular listing, there's what is called a trigger built into these here. If you have a minus value, which shows the items on hand are less than the low level or at equal to the low level, this will turn orangish red in order to let you know that those items are needed to be ordered. And so this will allow you to go ahead and get a quick idea of what needs to be ordered. Let's go over and look at one of the edit records. Basically, when you go in there, you're going to get a quick view. We're going to be coming back to this screen later on. You can see here that we have a quantity on hand -2 with a low level of 2, so it's equal to or less than 2. So that's what that's doing in that record. Let's go back over to the client records. I want to show you how easy it is to navigate this application. You just click on one tap and it's going to bring you back. Obviously, I'm using a cursor to be able to show you where I'm going and doing things. So what have we covered in this screen as far as the overview? We have a client or a business client, one or the other. We're able to navigate the application. We're able to use the Do Action menu to do things, add dollars, look at the service schedule, and review the service inventory when all the items are in there to see if we have those kinds of parts that are required for this particular task that we're doing in the field. Now that pretty well covers the basics on this screen, and I want to point out that you also got a view of how to use the portal button. Now be aware that when you're in a record, it has to have data in it. Like you see this one down here, which is a new record. When you create the top one up here, as soon as you add the first data in it, it's going to create a new blank record below it. If it has nothing in it, I can click all day on this. It's not going to go anywhere. You have to actually have data of some sort in here before you can actually go view a portal. Okay, that should pretty well cover this lesson. The next one we're going to go into, we're going to go down and start going through the individual screens that are not supported on this. So that'll probably be starting out on the schedule screen. We're going to go down and look at the actual schedule screen and then do some work in there. Thank you.